All right, welcome back to the Red and Blue Fight Pick Show. We are going to be breaking down and giving out picks for UFC Kansas City, Garry versus Prates. But first, we are going to recap UFC 314, Volkanovski versus Lopez. So we started in the women's bantamweight division. Red Reina gave out Nora Cornella by decision, but unfortunately, she got her first submission win, I believe, over Haley, Brock Lesnar, Cowan. Red Ray, what happened there?
First round, Haley took her down and controlled her, and then it seemed like she didn't know what a rear naked choke was in the second round. So it's tough when you're trying to win fights by grappling and you lose to a Muay Thai girl in grappling. So I don't know what her career path is at this point.
Yeah, so we were 0-1 there. The next fight at middleweight, we were high on Marco Tulio by KO, and that's exactly what happened. Very impressive striking. I think he's going to be a great prospect moving forward in the middleweight division. Next fight was a split decision victory for Sumadarji over Mitch Raposo. Was a pretty competitive fight. It wasn't the most exciting fight. I thought Raposi was going to be trying to take the takedowns, and he was. He just wasn't able to ever control Sumadarji. He only landed 13 strikes, and when damage is the number one criteria, Sumadarji got it done. Next fight, moving up the card, we were high on Michel Olechechuk, and he dominated Dumas. Very one-sided fight, finished him in the first round. Moving up the card, we were high on Rosa Moneyline, and we also had I want to say half unit on Rosa by decision. He dominated Elkins, smoked him pretty quickly. And he covered on the money line, but unfortunately Elkins was no match, and Rosa looked great, and he already has another fight lined up. So we'll see him in a few weeks again. Next fight, we were on Chase Hooper. Didn't give out official pick. My official pick was Hooper by decision. I did think Miller was going to be tough enough to be able to survive, but ultimately wasn't going to have enough to win the fight. And that's pretty much exactly what happened. Hooper didn't really have to overcome any sort of adversity, maybe just a little bit in the first round. But other than that, he dominated the fight. Wasn't the most exciting fight if you don't enjoy grappling, but I thought it was exciting. Moving up the card, we were on Yan Xiaonan plus 3.5. Almost covered for us in the first round. She was doing pretty good for the first 3.5 minutes, and then got taken down. And from there, it was over. She just got ultimate control championed by Verna Jandiroba. We'll see if Verna gets the title shot. If she does, I'm quite sure she's going to get flatlined. The next fight, Dan Ige got the late finish over Sean Woodson. It was a terrible stoppage, but I was on Ige, so we were happy about that. Didn't give out that as an official play, but I was on the Ige side. I liked him by potentially submission. He attempted a couple takedowns, but just that frame of Woodson was very difficult to get him down. The next fight is a very tragic one, as Nikita Krylov, he got laid out flat by Dominic Reyes. This was a big swing for us. Now, luckily, we did give out fight to end by KO, just in case Krylov got slept, and he got slept. Dominic Reyes is not back. He is better, as he said. Ray, see you shaking your head. What are your thoughts?
He still sucks. He's fat. He sucks. He just happened to land a nice strike there. Krylov, this is more, as I said, we didn't know what Krylov clone was going to do. Obviously, we didn't like what Krylov clone did. He got the old Krylov never got KO'd. This one just falls down immediately.
I'm still depressed. We would have had a great night if Krylov got the job done. Unfortunately, he did not. Moving up to the next fight, this was also pretty disappointing if you're a Blue Bart fan. I did lean Bryce Mitchell. It was not a lock by any means, but Red Ray was all over this one on Gene Silva. He got it at a great number. Absolute domination. Bryce Mitchell had no offense for Gene Silva. 1 of 14 on the takedowns. I don't even remember seeing one takedown. Just a very lopsided fight. Should have been minus 2,000, not minus 200. Next fight, we were on Yair Rodriguez money line, and it was a great performance by him. He looked great. He was maybe had a small bit of adversity to overcome at one point in the fight for about a minute, but other than that, he dominated the fight from start to finish, and he's hoping for a title shot after that performance. We'll see if he gets it. The next fight, though, Blue Bart was on Paddy Pimblett. Red Ray was on Michael Chandler. So this was a nice win for the Blue Bart fans. Dominated the fight. My prediction was I just saw Chandler get dominated by Charles Oliveira in the fight before, and I didn't know why Paddy wouldn't be able to do the same thing. And that's pretty much what happened. Chandler lasted for about a minute before Paddy just took the fight over. So, Red Ray, any thoughts?
Well, my thoughts previous to that fight was that Paddy had not been impressive in his earlier fights. He definitely leveled up. I was impressed. I thought his striking was a lot better. I didn't realize how much bigger he was going to be than Michael Chandler. I think the first round you saw, he looked like he was like 3 inches taller and weighed about 10, 15 more pounds. Yeah. That was worrisome immediately for me because it looked like Chandler had no idea how to get inside. But I was impressed with Paddy. I didn't see that coming.
And then the main event, I was very high on Volkanovski money line. We did give out Lopez under 2.5 rounds and KO finish. We felt like that was his only path to victory, and it was a competitive fight. I did think that Volkanovski edged him out pretty clearly, but in hindsight, I don't think that was Lopez's only path to victory. I think he showed that he is top of the food chain, high level, future champion down the road potentially. Great fight, and unfortunately, just blue and red fight picks went minus 0.65 units on the night. Unfortunately, due to Krylov, would have been a big successful winning night had he got the job done. But we finished 4-5 on the picks, and we moved to plus 1.25 units overall through 3 events. So let's move on and jump right into UFC Kansas City. We start in the women's bantamweight division between Chelsea Chandler at plus 240 with the comeback on Jocelyn Edwards at minus 300. Red Ray, how do you have it?
This is a tough fight to really start a card. It's not going to be very exciting. We got Chelsea Chandler. These are 2 big girls. Neither of these girls ever make weight, so that's going to be an interesting play on Friday to see which one of them actually does make weight. Chandler's not really sure. She's not really good at anything. She wants to just push the fight up against the cage. She wants to just clinch, make it dirty. I guess she wants to get it to the ground, but she's not very good on the ground at controlling anything. So Jocelyn Edwards is actually pretty skilled. She's got a good striker. Her grappling game has been much improved. You saw last fight she subbed Tamiris Vidal in the 3rd round. The fight before she fought Aileen Perez, and even though she got taken down 6 times, Perez never really was able to get much control on her, which, Perez is much better grappler than Chandler is. So I think Edwards is going to stay on the outside. She's going to be able to outstrike Chandler. If Chelsea does clinch it up, I don't think she's going to get her to the ground. If she does, I think Edwards is going to get back up. So I don't see a finish here. Edwards by decision is the play. There's no bets here. The Edwards line is, I think she's minus 225 by decision. It's just not putting minus 225 in Jocelyn Edwards.
Yeah, I'm not going to spend too much time on this fight. I don't have a strong lean either way. My official pick will be Edwards money line. I think Chelsea Chandler could cover 3.5 at plus 110. But as you pointed out, the over-under for total rounds in this fight is 2.5 at minus, with the over being minus 475. Edwards, I read a quote. She had an interview with MMA Junkie. She said she's going to rip off her head or leg and do whatever it takes to get in the rankings. I lean Edwards. I mean, she's the younger fighter. They're both 5'8", but she's 5 years younger and has a slight reach advantage. Did just get a submission win in her last fight, but other than that, 8 of her 9 fights in the UFC all went to decision. 5-4 overall in the UFC. Chelsea Chandler 2-2, and Chelsea Chandler. She always just looks sloppy. She doesn't look confident really anywhere. I don't like her fight IQ. She doesn't ever really have a great game plan of what she wants to do. 34 years old, only having 9 fights. And at this point, it seems like something else might be on her horizon in her career. So we're gonna lean Edwards money line and move on to the next fight. Within the featherweight division, we have Timmy Cuamba at plus 105 with the comeback on Roberto Romero at minus 125. I don't have a strong lean either way on this fight. I feel like Timmy Cuamba is someone who's supposed to be a great prospect, and from everything I've seen, I haven't been super impressed. Romero only has the 1 fight so far within the UFC. He took it on short notice against Onama, who's fighting later in the card. And he did get 30-27 on all 3 scorecards, but he did have some moments early in the fight where he almost found the finish on Onama. Overall, he's 8-4. He did throw a lot of leg kicks, which Cuamba's a pretty skinny guy. I feel like that could be a nice weapon to utilize the leg kicks against Cuamba. And Cuamba, when you look at his stats, he really only throws a lot of punches. He doesn't really mix up anything else. He's attempted takedowns. I do think he's got a little bit more experience than Romero. The guys he has fought in the UFC are solid. They're not just jobbers. So I think he has that. But I'm gonna lean Romero. It's not a strong play for me. I think this is going to go to the distance. Fight to go the distance is minus 170. If anything, that's probably what I'll end up playing. But Red Ray, how do you have it?
I'm on Romero here. If you watched Cuamba on Dana White Contender Series, he fought a guy named Vogel. Vogel's high pressure grappler, and he struggled with him in the second and third round. He was lighting him up in the first round and then kind of slowed down after that, and to the point where he won the decision, but he easily could have lost rounds 2 and 3. His first 2 matchups in the UFC have kind of been bad matchups. He took Oki up a weight class on short notice, and then Lucas Almeida last fight. Almeida's a huge 145 or so. Cuamba's not very big for the division, so that was also a tough one. So he's fighting someone that's actually his size now. But if you watch Romero last fight, you might think that he's like a striker. If you watch any of his regional stuff, though, he's much more of a high pressure. He wants to grapple. He's not necessarily a submission guy. He just wants to get you on the ground and control you. But he rarely ever strikes for long periods of time. So he fights similar to the guy on the Dana White's Contender Series that Cuamba had issues with. So I just think he's gonna be able to pressure Cuamba here. I think he's gonna get takedowns and control, maybe do some ground and pound on the ground. I also think Romero hits harder on the feet. So if they do stand for periods of time, I think he's gonna land the more significant strikes here. So I'm on Romero, most likely by decision, but I think finish only. Romero's minus 180. That's a play.
Okay, let's move on to the women's strawweight division. We have Jacqueline Amorim at minus 850 with the comeback on Poliana Viana at plus 575. Red Ray, how do you have it?
Not much. This isn't we don't have to go into this fight very long. Amorim's a minus whatever. She's by far this better grappler. Viana's her game. I mean, she does have a one KO in 10, 15 seconds, I think 3 fights ago. But the last 2 fights you saw, she got submitted by Lucinda very easily. And then she got TKO'd by Jillian Robertson. Morim's going to do the same thing. Morim's not the greatest takedown artist, but I think she's going to give Viana down some way or another, either a submission or a KO here. by the ground and pound, either first or second round.
Yeah, pretty much the same for me. I feel very confident Amorim's going to win by submission at -165. She's finished all 9 of her wins. She's 9-1, 3-1 within the UFC. She did lose her first fight in the UFC to Sam Hughes. Sam Hughes can be a tough, opening fight within the UFC. She's gritty. She has a great cardio, big wrestler, and I just think that was a tough welcome into the UFC. But Poliana Viana, when you look at her record, she's 13-7 overall, 4-6 in the UFC. Of her wins in the UFC, the 4 wins, all of the girls she's beaten, all the women she's beaten are really bad. They all have terrible records, and 2 of the 4 I had never heard of. The third one I had heard of, but I couldn't put a face on her in my head. And anytime she fights anyone who's pretty good, she always loses. So while she does train at Shoot the Box with Charles Oliveira, I just think that she's going to get really outclassed here and submitted pretty easily. So Amorim by submission is going to be my official pick. Let's move on to the men's bantamweight division, as we have Malcolm Wellmaker at -120 with the comeback on Cameron Saaiman at even odds right now. I am on Cameron Saaiman here. I thought he looked like a great prospect through his first 3 fights within the UFC. He then took a big step up against Christian Rodriguez, and he lost very I don't want to say got dominated, but he lost the fight outright pretty clearly. He then took another big fight against Peyton Talbot, and he was somewhat competitive, but it was getting outclassed. He was landing some good strikes, and he got knocked out. He got TKO'd. He didn't get put out cold, but he did get put down pretty bad. That was over a year ago. He's only 24 years old. He trains with the middleweight champion Dricus du Plessis in South Africa. I think taking the year off was really smart to just continue to grow and work on his game. I thought he was very skilled at such a young age, and even taking the time off, I feel that his experience in the UFC is going to be a big advantage versus a guy who only has 1 fight on Dynamite Contender Series, is 30 years old, trains at a gym that I've never heard of. And the guy he beat on Dana White's Contender Series was 13-3, had only fought 1 time in 4 years, and the time that he did fight was over a year ago. So I don't think that he has fought anyone to the level of Saaiman, and for that reason, I'm going to pick Saaiman to win and outclass him. By decision is going to be my official pick at +190. Red Ray, how do you have it?
I'm on the Wellmaker side here. My issue with Saaiman isn't really, I mean, he's decent everywhere. He's pretty well rounded. He just gets hit so often, and he looks like he should be a 125er. He looks very small out there. When he gets hit, it just Talbot's not a huge puncher. Like Talbot rocked him at least, he only got carried with 1 knockdown, but he knocked him at least 3 times. Rodriguez was hitting him hard, and those are both guys that are just not known for, they're not Josh Emmett out there. They're not like KO and people with 1 punch. Simon's wins are over Terrence Mitchell, who might be the worst fighter that has been in the UFC. Mana Martinez, who is okay, but he's nothing special. Steven Kozlow, who has one of the greatest nicknames of all time, but Obi-Wan Shinobi the Pillow, but he has not fought since that fight either. So I just don't know if he's just he's really improving anywhere. Wellmaker, we saw him on the Dana White's Contender Series. I honestly don't think he's wildly talented. He's a good boxer. He's got good. He definitely just wants to keep it standing. He has no intention of going to the ground. And if you try to take him down, he will He immediately tries to get back up. I just think he hits extremely hard for 135. And I think Saaiman's going to probably land the more shots, but Wellmaker I think if he just lands like a handful of shots, it's just going to be the way more significant strikes. And I think he could put Saaiman out. I'm not sure how durable Saaiman is after Talbot just absolutely destroyed him last fight out. So my play is Wellmaker money line and Wellmaker by KO.
Okay, I forgot to also update the standings on the red versus blue lifetime standings, and we went to 3-3. We were 2-2 going into last week. We gave Red Ray the win on the Gene Silva and Blue Bart the win on the Paddy Pimblett. And this is an official blue versus red here. So let's move on up the card. We're going to keep it in the bantamweight division as we have Damon Blackshear at minus 525 with the comeback on Alatengheili plus 360. Red Ray, how do you have it?
Now, Blackshear's a minus 500 for a reason here. I think he's better almost everywhere. Alateng's he's pretty well rounded, but he doesn't really know how to mix his game in. He's usually just striking or just wrestling in his fights. And when he does strike, he's very low volume. I think we talked earlier, his most significant strikes landed in a fight are 49. And he definitely doesn't want to grapple here. So he's going to have to stand. He's got decent power. But I don't know if he's got power to knock out Blackshear. The last guy that knocked Blackshear out was Montel Jackson, who's one of the hardest hitters in the division. Alateng doesn't hit as hard as he does. Last fight out, we saw Blackshear fight Cody Gibson. He actually was getting beat up by Cody Gibson in the stand-up, but Cody, for some reason, just decided he kept wanting to take him down, even though he got reversed in the first round, and then decided he wanted to go back there in the second round. Didn't really make any sense as a game plan there, but Blackshear was able to submit him. I think Blackshear's round game is just levels above most of the guys in the division. I don't know if he's going to be able to he's not the greatest takedown artist, and if Alateng's not forcing takedowns, I don't know if he's going to get Alateng down. So I'm going to play Blackshear by decision here, but if he does get it to the ground, I think he makes it look easy and he can get a submission pretty quickly.
Yeah. To your point, Blackshear's minus 500 for a reason. I really like Blackshear. I picked him to beat Montel Jackson, and yeah, he got clipped with a straight right hand from a guy with the biggest hands in the division in 18 seconds. But I mean, he has fought a lot of good guys in his career. Pat Sabatini, Yusuf Zalal, Farid Basharat, Mario Batista, Montel Jackson, Cody Stamann, Cody Gibson. I think this is a bit of a step down in terms of competition he's faced overall. He is in his prime. He's 30 years old. He trains at Killcliff. He's going to be the bigger, longer, younger guy. He is 5'10". Alateng's only 5'5". He's going to have a 6-inch reach advantage, and he's 3 years younger. When you look at Alateng's record, the guys he's fought, the strength of schedule is vastly in favor of Damon Blackshear. Alateng is not a great round winner. He's a low volume guy, and nobody ever tries to grapple him. He's only been submitted one time, but when you look at the guys he's fought, none of them ever have a game plan to try to take him down and submit him. And so with that being said, I'm very confident in Blackshear. I'm very confident in him to win by submission at plus 150, and that is going to be my official pick. Moving up the card, we move up to the men's featherweight division. We have Chris Gutierrez at minus 150 with the comeback on John Castaneda at plus 125. I'm on Chris Gutierrez here. I think this guy is really good. I like his striking. He mixes up he uses kicks more than 90% of the guys in the UFC, the fighters in the UFC. And Castaneda is not someone who stands out in my mind for any performances. I think he's a pretty mid guy. He has fought a couple of good guys, but I don't think those guys are as near the dynamic striker that Gutierrez is. Gutierrez has struggled against Song Yadong. He got taken down and controlled. he struggled against Munoz. He got 30-27 by Munoz, but the stats in that fight make it look like it was closer than what it was. I don't think Castaneda's at that level, and I'm very confident that El Guapo is going to get this one done. Red Ray, how do you have it?
Yeah, we're on the same page here. I'm on Gutierrez. I just think he's going to Castaneda's like you said, Gutierrez's issues have been when people take him down. He doesn't seem to have a very good get up game, but he does have a decent takedown defense. But if you do get him there, he doesn't really get up. Last fight, I think he was, what was it, Wong Lee? I think he fought on short notice, and he had issues in the third round getting up. He got taken down and couldn't get back up. And against Song Yadong, Song kept taking him down and just holding him there. But Castaneda's, for being a college wrestler, his takedown percentage, his accuracy is only 35%. So I don't know if he has the takedowns to get Gutierrez down. Like you said, Gutierrez's leg kicks are pretty brutal. He doesn't have the greatest hands on the planet, but his leg kicks usually are enough to keep guys away. And once he stops the movement at Castaneda with those leg kicks, I think it's going to be even more difficult for him to take him down. So I could just see Gutierrez outpointing him for 3 rounds here.
Yeah, I think we both like Gutierrez's decision at plus 100. Moving on up the card, we move to the men's lightweight division as we have Evan Elder at minus 195 with a comeback on Gage Young at plus 165. Red Ray, how do you have it?
I'm on Elder here. Elder was supposed to fight some guy earlier, so Gage is taking this on pretty short notice and week notice. You watch Gage in the Dana White's Contender Series, he lost to Killian Salkid. It wasn't a bad performance. He just kind of got outvolumed and outworked a little bit, but he's a decent striker. He's got good get up game. He can be taken down, but he also can wrestle. But he's mostly a boxer. He lands a couple of leg kicks here and there. Honestly, his game looked pretty similar to Elder's. I just think he's not as good. Definitely not as good as a striker. I think Elder throws in a lot of combinations, hits with a lot of power. I think his last fight he only got, or now last fight was Darius Flowers. He submitted him, but that's because Darius Flowers shouldn't be in the UFC and isn't anymore. But 2 fights ago against was Valdez, who is a pure boxer and actually a decent striker. Elder dropped him. It only says that he dropped him once, but he dropped him every round. And the fight before that, he fought Sadikov, who's a good striker. We've seen what Sadikov has done recently. He was up 2 rounds to nothing there. He should have won that fight. And then there's a doctor stoppage. He had a cut on his eye from a knee, I believe. So I just think Elder's going to have the more impactful punches, and he's just going to land more often. The one thing I would caution, Elder's defense is pretty sound when he's throwing punches, but when he throws kicks, he's really wide open. He got clipped, I believe, by Valdez when he was throwing kicks. And I saw Young, he landed a couple of straight rights down the pipe against Salkid on Dana White's Contender Series when he was throwing kicks. So that'd be my only caution on Elder there if he gets caught with one of those leg kicks. And Young does throw hard enough to drop him. So, but Elder, the money line is minus 193. I think it's a good line.
Yeah, we're very much aligned here. I'm on Elder as well. He's a pretty big lightweight. He's fought at welterweight a couple times. He's 2-2 in the UFC, 9-2 overall. Kind of what you said. I mean, his guys he's beaten in the UFC aren't very good. Aren't in the UFC anymore. The guys he's lost to are solid fighters, though, and he didn't get destroyed. I think he is coming into his prime. He's 28 years old. He's going to have a small reach advantage. I think he's going to be significantly better than G Money Gage Young. Gage Young was taken down 9 times in this Dana White Contender Series fight. He's taking this fight on short notice. I'm quite sure that he's going to not be in perfect shape. Fighting a guy who's going to be significantly bigger than him. I just think Elder's going to be much more ready for this fight, mentally, physically, spiritually. I think that Elder's going to get this one done pretty easily. Moving up the card, we move to the men's flyweight division, and I'm already getting giddy because Danger is back. He had laid the gloves down. He said he was done. Red Ray and I have been big Matt Schnell fans for 13 years. We used to watch him on the MTV show Caged. And this is my guy. And, he's gone through a lot. He doesn't have a great chin. That is very obvious. He has been struggling as of late. He is only 1-4 in his last 5 fights in the UFC. Overall, he's 6-7 in the UFC. Was on the Ultimate Fighter before, but he's fought the who's who of the flyweight division. Rob Font, the champion, Pantoja, Brandon Royval, Mateus Nikolai, Steve Ercik, Cody Durden. Matt Schnell is 16-9 overall. He has been TKO'd 5 times. He's been submitted 3 times. Here's the good news. He's fighting Jimmy Flick, who is terrible on the feet. Absolutely terrible on the feet. Poses 0 threat on the feet. That's great for Matt Schnell because Matt Schnell is a very well-rounded fighter. He does have good striking. The problem is he likes to get into wars with his opponent. He will not back down. He will fight you in a parking lot to the death. He throws caution to the wind. He's reckless abandon when he fights. Jimmy Flick is not a threat to Schnell on the feet, and when he's not a threat, he can flow out there. He can mix it up well. He can feel confident. He does have 3 submission losses because it's part of the recklessness. He got submitted by Brandon Royval. He was going for his own submission, gave up position, and then got submitted to a guillotine. Same thing with Cody Durden. Was getting into a brawl, grabbed his hips, got guillotined. And then his other submission loss, all the way back in 2014, he also got submitted by guillotine. So we see a pattern there. All 3 of his submission losses were to guillotine. And Jimmy Flick, he has 15 wins by submission. None of them are by guillotine. Now, I'm sure he's capable of doing a guillotine. I just don't think I just think it's gonna happen. I think this is a great matchup for Schnell. The line has been coming down on Schnell. A lot of people are on Flick in this fight. I think it is disrespectful. I think people are just looking at Schnell's record and seeing that he's been getting finished by everybody. But these guys are on a much higher level than Jimmy Flick. Can you imagine what the line would be if Jimmy Flick was fighting Pantoja or Royval or Steve Ercik? I mean, those guys, they would all be at least minus 1,000. Jimmy Flick, just to touch on his record within the UFC, he's 3-3. He is 34 years old. He's 0-6 by KO. He's been finished 6 times, 15-0 by submission. The guys he's beaten, he beat Malcolm Gordon when he was about to get finished. Malcolm Gordon, not a smart fighter, got reckless, and got submitted. He had the fight, dominated the fight, and then got submitted to an arm triangle out of nowhere. If he would have lost that fight, he would be on a 4-fight losing streak. He submitted Cody Durden with an arm triangle, and he beat a guy named Nate Smith on the Contender Series, who also was a submission guy, not a guy who wants to be on the feet. He was 6-4 overall, and only had 1 KO finish. So when Jimmy Flick is fighting someone who wants to be on the ground with him, he's like, okay, great. I think Schnell is going to be back this fight. He's going to get the win. This is an official play for Blue Bart. We're on Schnell money line, minus 200, but I like his TKO at plus 160 as well. Red Ray, how do you have it?
So as you stated, we are huge Matt Schnell fans. So it does excite me because we have a fight here where I don't have to really worry about him getting knocked out. So, and that is usually his path of loss, is to get knocked out by pretty much anybody. So Jimmy Flick, as you said, terrible striker. He's landing 1.94 significant strikes per minute. He's absorbing 5.43. I don't think that changes here. Schnell is a quality striker. I mean, besides the fact that his head doesn't move off the center line, his actual offensive striking is actually decent. My issue is he doesn't really KO anybody. He hasn't had a KO in 10 years. Most of his wins are by decision or submission. So it worries me that if he does drop Jimmy Flick, that he will then decide to go down into the guard of Jimmy Flick and then get submitted. So it's hard for me to lay minus whatever 275 on Schnell, knowing that he doesn't have the greatest fight IQ in the planet. Even though, because I mean, Jimmy Flick, while being terrible, he is 15-0 to the submission. He is very good on the ground. We did see him just fight Nate Muniz, who probably hits a little bit harder than Schnell, and he was able to survive all 3 rounds. But that was because Nate refused to go to the ground with him. I think Schnell feels like he can survive on the ground, and I don't know if he can survive. So the pick is Schnell. I'm not betting him. The only bet I could see under 1.5, it's minus 135. So that's my only bet for this fight.
I also want to point out that Jimmy Flick posted the same picture in 2 different weeks of him running and training. He was like, "Oh, just got done with the run." It was the same picture he had posted a couple weeks ago. This guy he's a bum. He is not on Matt Schnell's level, and Matt Schnell is going to be back. Danger. Get the caution signs ready. Let's move up the card to the middleweight division. Then we are moving into the main card here. We have Ikram Aliskerov at minus 550 with the comeback on Andre Muniz at plus 375. Red Ray, how do you have it?
So I'll preface this by saying I'm not a big Ikram fan. I thought he's overrated from the beginning. However, I think his lines have been crazy since he came to the UFC. I think because he stopped one of Chimaev's takedowns in their fight on the regional scene, which he got KO'd immediately after that. So it's kind of interesting. Everyone thinks he's some great fighter. I don't think he's very good. I think he's striking. I think he's got decent power in the feet. I don't think he's the greatest wrestler in the world. We saw him, he was getting pieced up by Phil Hawes before he finally touched Hawes' glass chin. I just don't. I mean, I think if he fights anybody of any kind of skill level, he's gonna lose. So, but in these numbers of him being like minus 600 are crazy. Luckily, Muniz does not have the skill set to beat him. Muniz, we've seen recently really get exposed. He fought, what is it? I can't think of who he fought last time. The Iron Turtle. He did beat the Iron Turtle, which was surprising, but the Iron Turtle has no power. He was able to basically out cardio the Iron Turtle. But we've seen him against like Paul Craig, who TKO'd him. We saw him against Brandon Allen, TKO him. If you get on top of him, he tries to play his jiu-jitsu game and he just can't. He doesn't know how to handle strikes. So, and on the feet, he's just not a good striker. So, I think Ikram, it will maybe drop him, or he could take him down, and I think he could TKO him. I think it's going to happen early, round 1 or 2.
Yep, we are very much aligned here. I will say my biggest bet last year was on Robert Whittaker over Ikram Aliskerov. I thought that line was very disrespectful, and Whittaker ran right through him. But I mean, other than that, he's famously known for fighting. His only other loss prior to Robert Whittaker was getting finished by Khamzat Chimaev. So far in the UFC, I mean, he's looked great other than the Whittaker fight. He knocked out Phil Hawes, knocked out Warley Alves. Andre Muniz is definitely better than those guys, but he's really not a threat on the feet. The striking is not great. Like you pointed out, he wants to take you down, control you, look for a submission. I don't think this is a great matchup for him because Aliskerov is a good sambo guy. He's going to be able to defend the takedowns. I don't see him getting taken down and controlled. Muniz also has not fought since 2023. That is concerning to me too, given his age. He is 35 years old. Do you know if that was some sort of injury?
No, it was that long ago that he fought the Iron Turtle.
Yeah, December 9, 2023. So he was out for over, almost a year and a half. Aliskerov took some time off after getting knocked out by Whitaker. I think that was smart, but he is still in his prime. He's 32 years old. I also think he's going to knock out Muniz. Muniz has been finished by KO, TKO 5 times. He had a great record in the UFC. His record in the UFC is 8-2. But again, he was fighting not high level competition until he moved up to fight Brendan Allen. I know we were on Brendan Allen in that fight, and then if you're losing to Paul Craig, respectfully, I don't think you're going to beat Ikram Aliskerov. So let's move up the card. The official pick there is going to be Aliskerov by KO at -200. It's another fight I'm looking forward to is we have Randy Rude Boy Brown at -260 with the comeback on Nicholas Dalby at +210. I'm very high on Brown in this fight. I think this is a little bit of a step down for him. Dalby, since returning to the UFC, has had a good record, but he's not fought anyone near the striking level of Randy Brown. He's 6'3". He's going to have a 4-inch reach advantage. He's 6 years younger. I mean, Dalby's 40 years old. Dalby is good at out toughing guys, out cardioing guys. He's a pretty well-rounded guy, but I think there's going to be a significant disadvantage on the feet here. I think Randy Brown is going to be able to pick him apart. I don't see Dalby being able to control him against the cage and take him down and control him like that. They both have a similar recent opponent in Muslim Salikov. Randy Brown knocked him out cold, and Dalby beat him by submission. I think the strength of schedule is much better for Randy Brown. He just fought Brian Battle. I thought he won that fight. I thought that was a bad decision. It was a split decision. Didn't go his way. I thought that was incorrect. Other than that, he had won 7 of 8 with the only loss coming to Jack Della Maddalena, who's fighting for the title next month. Prior to that, he lost to Vicente Luque back in 2020. He has fought Bilal Muhammad before. I feel very strongly Randy Brown is going to win this fight. I think he's going to have a significant advantage on the feet, like I mentioned, and I think this is a step down for him. With all due respect to Dalby, who is 23-5 overall, and 8-6 in the UFC. But Red Ray, how do you have it?
I'm on the Brown side also, but I'm not as confident as you. I don't think Randy Brown ever does a lot to separate himself in fights. You said that the one fight against Salikov, he did knock him out, but outside of that, he's going like he went to this split decision with Brian Battle. He went to decision with Dos Santos. He went to decision with Wellington Turman. Francisco Trinaldo, he went to decision with. So, I mean, every single fight is going to decision, and he's landed significant strike-wise in all those fights was 64. So, he just doesn't do anything. He likes to dance around the outside. He's not an amazing grappler. I think his power is overrated for how big he is. I think it's going to be tough for me to see. Like, I don't think he's finishing Dalby. Dalby hasn't been finished, and
Dalby has never been finished. Yeah, my official pick was Brown by decision. I just think he's going to be able to out jab him and outstrike him on the feet, and he'll point fight his way to a victory. But I think it'll be a clean victory.
It's just tough for me to see anybody like. I mean, Dalby is just all he wants to do is he's always in your face, pressuring you. I mean, you saw him break Gabriel Bonfim 2 fights ago. Like you said, he did go to decision with Salikov, but it was an easy. He outstruck him 86-57. The fight before that, he went to decision against Warley Alves. He outstruck him 119-66. Last fight, he should be on a 5-fight winning streak. He lost to Fakardinov. He arguably won round 2 and 3 there. Fakardinov was just diving at legs there, hoping for nothing. It wasn't getting anything. I don't think Dalby is like an amazing, like he's not overly skilled. He just is in your face at all times. And I mean, we just saw Randy Brown lose to Brian Battle in a clinch fest. So if he doesn't clear Dalby off the cage and keep it standing. I mean, I do agree that he probably wins a pure striking affair, but I just think Dalby's going to try to make it dirty. But I usually always bet against Randy Brown, and like you said, he wins a lot of fights. So I'll try to be on the Randy Brown's side here, but I'm not rooting for him.
Red Ray is a notorious rude boy hater. Let's move on to the middleweight division. We have Michel Pereira at -140 with a comeback on Abus Magomedov at +120. Red Ray, how do you have it?
I saw this line earlier in the week, and just off the top of my head, I was thinking Abus at plus money is, I mean, it seems like a good play to me. We just saw Pereira just absolutely gas immediately in the first round against Anthony Hernandez, and just got mollywopped for 5 rounds, finally got finished in the 5th. But previous to that, he had looked good at 185. He had smoked 3 different guys in the first minute of each fight. So it just seemed like I was thinking maybe his cardio got better when he went up to 185, but it seems like it hasn't really got much better. And Abus does have the last 2 fights he won. He beat Warriors by decision, and he submitted Bruno Pereira in the 3rd round. But if you take a closer look at those fights, he was gassed after the first round against Bruno Pereira. He got lucky that Bruno Pereira couldn't really stop his takedowns. So he was able to win the 2nd round and then finally submit Bruno Pereira, who was also gassed in the 3rd round. And Warrior Alves is a shell of himself at this point. So he was just taking him down at will and wasn't really putting any kind of, wasn't contesting at all. Even after Pereira got taken down 10 times last fight, he still has a 76% takedown defense. He's only been taken down, I believe, 1 other time. He got taken down once by Santiago Ponzinibbio. So I don't know if Abus is even going to take him down. And if we're on the feet, Pereira is the much more powerful. He's the faster striker. We've seen Abus. It seems like he doesn't like to get hit anymore. When he hits, he gets really weird reactions all of a sudden. He just starts shooting for takedowns. So I just think Pereira is going to spark him early with his athleticism. I could see a 1st or 2nd round KO here for Pereira.
Yeah, we got another red versus blue here. I am on the Abus side. I thought he's 34 years old, so I don't want to say he's improving, like he's this up and coming prospect. But even against the fight against Sean Strickland, he looked good in the 1st round. I believe he took that fight on short notice. I think his game plan was pretty clear. I need to take this guy out in 1 round or else I'm not going to win this fight. And he gave it everything he had. And then, he got finished in the 2nd round. He then fought Caio Borrello, who's a guy we might see fighting for the title by the end of this year. He took down and controlled Warley Alves, and he did the same with Bruno Pereira. Michel Pereira notoriously has very bad cardio. I mean, like you said, it seemed like it had improved, but then more recently, it didn't look improved against Anthony Hernandez, who's a much better grappler than Abus Magomedov. But I think Abus has been showing he's made improvements to his grappling. I think he's the smarter fighter, smarter IQ fighter. Pereira is just so reckless. I don't know if he's even he takes his training that seriously. I mean, we've made fun of him on the embeddeds before for not really seeming like he's focused on the fight. He's had some personal issues going on outside the cage in his own relationship. I don't know where his head's at. I feel confident that Abus is locked in. He's got a lot of experience in the PFL. He now has 5 fights under his belt in the UFC. He's got some momentum on his side where Pereira's momentum came to a crashing halt. I think Abus is going to be able to take him down. This fight is going to be determined in the 1st round. I think if Abus is able to get him down in the 1st round, then he's going to be good the rest of the fight. If he struggles to get him down in the first couple minutes, then he's going to lose. But I favor Abus to get that takedown in the 1st round, to be able to control him, and to grind out a decision. Because Abus, he does fade as the fight goes on, like you pointed out, but obviously Pereira does too. So as long as Abus wins that first round, which I'm confident he's going to do, I think he coasts to a victory. And my official pick is Abus by decision, and it's all the way at plus 375. So let's move on to the featherweight division, as we have Giga Chikadze at plus 145 with the comeback on David Onama at minus 175. I'm on Giga here. This guy was a huge prospect in the UFC a couple years ago, and then injuries, he lost a lot of momentum. But his most recent fight, he went to a competitive decision against Arnold Allen, who is at the top of the food chain in this division. He fought Calvin Kattar in a 5-round fight before Kattar's knees blew up. He TKO'd Edson Barbosa, TKO'd Cub Swanson, beat Jamal Emmers, who we're high on a couple weeks ago. He is 8-3 within the UFC. Most recently, 1-2 over his last 3. But again, that came to very high level competition. I still think this guy is a very dangerous striker, and Onama is not someone who I think is going to be able to compete with him on the feet. When you look at his fights in the UFC, Jonathan Pierce, not anywhere near the striker that Giga is. We saw him take care of Romero, who we talked about earlier in the card. Romero, short notice fight, did what he could, faded and lost to Nate Landwehr. That loss is not aging well. And I think that Giga is going to have a significant advantage in striking. He's never been finished. I wouldn't be shocked if it's a knockout, but my official pick is going to be Giga by decision at plus 250. Red Ray, how do you have it?
I'm on the Onama side here. I do agree, though, if Onama's game plan is to just strike with Giga, then it's going to be much closer than the money line is currently. It is going to be interesting. If you watch Giga's last fight against Arnold Allen, he was just skirting the outside of the cage, and he wasn't really he was trying to a lot of footwork. He slowed down. Against Arnold Allen, it was kind of weird because Arnold Allen's not a powerful striker, nor is he a big takedown guy. So if you ever watch Giga before that fight, he mostly just stands in one spot and just kind of just strikes with you. So it's interesting that he decided now, I don't know if he changed camps or whatever, if that's his new style going forward, but he seemed like he was a lot more defensively liable against Arnold Allen because of this movement that just randomly started in his career that he hasn't done before. So I'm interested to see how he fights or how he decides to come out here. But what I do think Onama has is a significant grappling edge. If Onama doesn't really, you haven't seen a grappler recently, but if you look at who he's fighting, like you said, he fought Romero, who's a grappler, Jonathan Pierce, grappler, Santos, grappler. Probably should have done more takedowns against Landwehr, but he got rocked early. I don't know if he was even paying attention to where he was going in that fight. Against Garrett Armfield was the last guy he fought that had us, and he had a significant ground game over, and he took him down twice and submitted him with an arm triangle in the second round. So Giga, who has lost, he hasn't lost by submission in a while, but same thing with him. He's facing a lot of strikers. He got submitted on Dana White's Contender Series. It was a long time ago now, but it was by Austin Springer. Got taken out 4 times. He's been taken down a lot in the UFC. Calvin Kattar, who's not some high-level grappler, took him down twice. So I think if Onama wants to grapple, I think he can, and I think he's obviously much better grappler. And if he does, then he could be a minus 500 if he grapples. But like you said, if it's just a striking battle, I think it's going to be close. But I hope that he comes in with a good game plan, and I could even see Onama getting a sub here. So I'm on Onama here.
Okay, let's move on to the co-main event, as we have Anthony Lionheart Smith at plus 325 with the comeback on Zhang Mingyang at minus 450. Red Ray, how do you have it?
I don't like anything here really. I don't think Mingyang's very good. Has 6 losses. He got KO'd by one of the most fraudulent fighters in the history of the UFC not too long ago. His guys he's beaten in the UFC so far are not great fighters. He was getting touched up by Romero before he pulled a Alex Pereira and complained of an eye poke, didn't get the break, and then just KO'd him immediately after. So um, I don't know, he doesn't get enough credit for that because Alex Pereira, that's his thing, and it's obviously he stole that from Mingyang. But I just don't know if Mingyang's ground game is he hasn't shown it in a while. He's been submitted multiple times in the regional scene. Um, I mean, obviously you can't bet on Anthony Smith. How you have no idea if he's even is interested in fighting at this point anymore. Last fight, he came out in the first round. Obviously, he lost his coach, and the week of, he came out and he was just literally just standing with his hands down by his hips, just letting Dominic Reyes just hit him right in the face, and he wasn't phased. It was a wild maneuver. I thought maybe he was going to like come out in the second round and continue to like just pressure like that, and instead he grabbed a single leg and just refused to let go of it and held on to it for 5 minutes of the round until finally the ref was like, "You just took 800 strikes unanswered," and every time he just refused to stand up, even though Reyes kept letting him stand up. So you can't. I could see usually you see Zhang hitting him and him just going into a ball and getting TKO'd. I could also see Zhang hitting him and going down and then Anthony Smith subbing him of some sort. So like he did with the Vitor Petrino a couple of fights ago. So I guess I'm on Mingyang. Another thing is Smith hasn't been all Mingyang's wins are by in the first round. Smith has not been KO'd in the first round in 10 years. Or finished in the first round at all in 10 years. I think once in the last 12 years. So who even knows if Zhang has any cardio to go past the first round if he just like death gasses after the first round. So I think just with the number, it's just a wild number for a lot of question marks. So I'm on Mingyang, but no place here for me.
I think there was a time in Blue Bart's life where he was a very big Anthony Smith mark, was always cheering for him, rooting for him, betting on him. But you will not find someone more stressful to be rooting or cheering for than Anthony Smith. I couldn't tell you the last time he won a fight easily. I think if you go back to 2020 against Devin Clark, he submitted him in the first round. I think Devin Clark is not very good, respectfully. If you go further back than that, he had a great performance against Alexander Gustafsson back in 2019 at the end of Gustafsson's career. But we got to focus on more recently, and more recently he's looked bad. He has a record of 38-21. He's been finished 12 times by TKO. He's been submitted 4 times as well. We don't have to worry about the submission here against Zhang. That's not going to be his game plan. As you pointed out, Zhang has finished all of his fights in the first round, 11 straight wins, all in the first round. He has been finished before. I listened to Anthony Smith on the Ariel Helwani show this week, and one thing that stood out to me was he said, let's see what happens when Zhang gets to the second round. So Smith sounds like he's confident that if this fight, once he gets through the first round, he's going to be able to take over. The problem with that to me is Smith just doesn't have great cardio. He's always gassed. He like starts the fight in slow motion and just kind of gets slower and slower as it goes. So while he's confident that he's going to be able to take over the fight when the second round starts, I'm just not that confident that he's going to be able to do that. He is fighting a guy who is 10 years younger than him. And he also said the UFC they want to see how good Zhang is. So they're matching him up with someone with Anthony Smith, who is as veteran as it gets. This is Smith's retirement fight. it's an opportunity for him to go out on top, getting a win in the UFC against a young, up and coming, dangerous 26-year-old. And the UFC wants to see what this guy's made of. Either he's going to run through Anthony Smith and get another highlight reel finish, and add on a big name to his resume, or maybe Smith survives that first round and then he is able to take over and he is able to get a takedown and define a submission. I am going to lean on the side of Zhang is going to win. I'm going to lead on the side of he's going to finish Anthony Smith. I'm not going to have a big bet on this. If anything, maybe I think you can bet on Zhang to win by first round KO. I haven't checked and see what the odds are on that. My guess is it's probably about plus 150. And then I think you can bet Anthony Smith submission in round 2 and 3, and you're probably going to get great numbers on those. You're probably going to get 10-1 in the second round, and you'll probably get closer to 15-1 in the third round. So that's going to be what I'm going to do for this fight. And it's been a great career, Anthony Smith. I've enjoyed watching it, and I'm going to root for you on Saturday night one more time. Let's move to the main event of the night, as we have Ian Machado Garry taking on Carlos Prates. Ian Garry minus 125, the comeback on Prates at plus 105. Garry taking this fight on somewhat short notice, a month's notice, not really short. But with that being said, I also listened to him on Helwani's show, and he said he got the call from his manager. Hey, do you want to fight on the Kansas City card? They need a main event. He said, sure, hung up the phone. Manager called him back. He's like, well, don't you know who you're fighting? And he's like, oh, yeah, I probably should. I think that just speaks to the confidence that Garry has within himself. I think he gained a lot of confidence against Shavkat. He has fought some big names in the UFC. He had a competitive fight against Michael Page that I did think he won. He had a fun fight against Jeff Neal. We have always known the striking ability of Ian Garry, but more recently he's shown us that he is a mixed martial artist, that he can grapple. He nearly submitted Shavkat Rakhmonov. He nearly submitted Michael Page. He does have only one submission win on his resume all the way back in 2019. But he's training at Shoot the Box with Charles Oliveira and those guys. And I know Prates has been hot. He's undefeated. He's 5-0 in the UFC, all by KO. But he is 21-6 overall. He has been submitted 3 times before. It was a long time ago, over 10 years ago. We know he's training with the Fighting Nerds. We know how hot that team is. But Prates himself is a guy who is a big party animal. He is no shame in it. He is constantly drinking, smoking cigarettes. He says he smokes 10 cigarettes a day when he's in camp. When he's out of camp, he smokes even more. I don't trust this guy's cardio. We haven't seen it tested in the UFC yet. He has not fought anyone near the level to Ian Garry. I think Prates has a clear path to victory. It's first round knockout. If he doesn't get the knockout in first round, which we have seen Garry get rocked before, we've seen him get rocked by strikers very inferior to Prates. So it's a possibility. I just think it's unlikely. I think Garry is a fighter with a very smart fight IQ. He always has a good game plan of what he's going to try to do to win the fight. And I think his game plan is going to be, let me grab this guy right away, put him up against the cage, try to get him down, try to wear on him, try to lean on him, and make him quit. He did it immediately with Michael Venom Page, knowing that Venom Page was a dangerous striker. He's not going to try to go tit for tat with a guy that could knock him out, who's going to have a little bit of a reach advantage on him. While he's not a very inferior striker, if this was a kickboxing match, I think Garry could definitely win that fight. I think he'd be a slight underdog, but this is MMA. This is the UFC. I think that Gary's going to take him down. My official pick is going to be Garry by submission at plus 550. Well, he hasn't had one in a long time. This is a 5-round fight. I think Prates is going to gas, And when that happens, once Garry gets the takedown, I think he's going to be able to find most likely a rear naked choke on Prates is going to be my prediction. Red Ray, how do you have it?
Our breakdowns are pretty similar. We have a little bit of a different outcome. I agree. I think Prates, I know he likes to brag about the cigarette smoking, but like you said, he's only been scheduled for one 5-round fight in his career, and that he finished that in the first round. This is only the second 5-round fight he's ever been scheduled for. We have no idea what he's going to look like past this third round. I mean, he's never been past the second round in the UFC. I do think he carries that power though into the second round. You said KO1 was the only play. He did knock out Trevin Giles in the second round. But I just think, I mean, we saw Garry last fight against Shavkat. It was actually one of his better performances. But the end of the fight, I thought he took that fight on semi-short notice also, and he showed no issues with his gas tank. So I'm not worried about him taking this on whatever, a month's notice. I think his gas tank will be 5 rounds with no issues. I don't think he's as good of a striker as what everyone thought. We've seen him in the last 2 fights. He's kind of been exposed. He got outstruck by Shavkat and by Michael Venom Page. I think defensively, Gary's not the greatest. He gets hit a lot. Offensively, I don't think he has a lot of power. I think he's got decent power in his feet. We've seen him knock out guys with leg kicks or head kicks or whatever, but I don't think he's just going to be able to go, like you said, tit for tat with Prates striking. Prates seems like he doesn't even hit guys sometimes, and they just drop. His knockout of Neil Magny, it looked like he grazed the top of his head, and Neil Magny was out cold. The Giles one was just one. I mean, he barely landed anything the whole fight, and then just one clean strike. Giles was out cold again. We saw him against Chuck Buffalo. He landed that sweet knee to the body, just crumbled him. So I think his power is just on a different level than what you're going to see from anybody else. I don't even know if Gary's seen a guy with this kind of power. So, I mean, you got 2 rounds where he's got to land one strike where he just can absolutely knock out Garry. I could see it happening. But like you said, I think if it gets past the second round, it's going to be real sketchy. I think Garry, I don't think Gary's offensively going to be able to get takedowns in the first 2 rounds. So I think it's going to be straight for the first 2. We haven't seen, I mean, Gary's grappling has gotten better, but he's not taking anybody down. Like impressively, he had to wait until like the 3rd round to get Magny down after he just obliterated his leg, and Magny couldn't even walk. It was basically just like, hey, take me down. He got on Shavkat's back in the 5th round, not by a takedown. It was by Shavkat wrestling, and then he was able to reverse the grappling sequence. So we haven't really seen him be able to take anybody down. And I think Prates, I think it's been clear that all he does is train against cage wrestling. But so I think the first 2 rounds he should be able to keep it standing. It's going to be past that. That's really a guessing game for me. So I'm going to take Prates round 1 or 2 KO. But like you said, I think a live line on Garry after this 3rd round. I think he's going to take over after the 2nd. So.
Okay, before we get into the official picks, just to just to go through our red versus blue picks, we have 5 fights this week of red versus blue. So the standings are going to sway quite a bit one way or the other after this week. But let's get into the official picks. Because of the amount of picks that we are against each other on, we did a little bit differently this week. So our team bets together, we are going to do 3 units. Our biggest bet of the week on Damon Blackshear money line, Ikram Aliskerov money line, and Jacqueline Amorim money line. Just so a chalk parlay, 3 big favorites that we're very confident in. It comes down to -167. So we're going to do 3 units on that. We're going to do 1.4 units on Chris Gutierrez money line. More realistically, whatever his line closes at, we're just going to do, if it's -150, we'll be doing 1.5 units just to get 1 unit back. And then we have 2 units on Evan Elder, who's floating around -205 right now. Hopefully that gets to -200 so we can do a 2 units to pay out 3. So altogether, we have just over 6 units. I forgot we also did 0.6 units on under 1.5 rounds on the Ikram fight, because we do think he's going to win by KO. But just to cover both sides, it's plus 100 on the under 1.5 unit. So that brings us to 7 units total when you include the Gutierrez 1.4 units. So 7 units total combined. And then Red Ray, let's hear what your picks are with your 2.5 units.
I'm going to go 1 unit on Romero money line. It's minus 135 right now. I'm going to have 1.5 units or 1.25 units, I'm sorry, on Wellmaker. I'm going to play 1 unit on his money line and then 0.25 on plus 250 his KO. And then my other quarter unit is going to be on David Onama by submission at plus 650.
Now let's go to the right side of the show here with Blue Bart. Guys, Matt Schnell is not losing to Jimmy Flick. I will be in shambles if I see Matt Schnell dive at the legs and get guillotined. I'm also very high on Randy Brown this week. I think this is a step down for him. I think he's going to outstrike Dalby with ease. I'm going to put them together, a little parlay. Comes to plus 111. I'm doing 1 unit on that. And then I have 1 unit on Ian Garry money line. It's currently at minus 125. And then I'm going to do a half unit on Abus Magomedov. So altogether, we're sticking with the 12 units that we've been doing each week. Looking forward to this card. I think that this is actually a pretty underrated card. So let's have some fun with it. And then just to look ahead to the following week, next week we will have UFC Fight Night, Corey Sandhagen versus Davison Figueiredo. So until then, good luck and look forward to recapping everything with you guys. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at R&B Fight Picks. X.com, actually, the everything app. All right, good luck.